Are you constantly struggling to ignore your current reality in order to manifest your desires? Do you think that it's really difficult to live from the end? Do you find it impossible to overcome the disappointment of affirming, scripting or visualizing something only to look around you and realize that it's still not there? In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how to not only easily ignore your current reality and live from the end, but how to actually use the stuff that used to annoy you, bring you down, in order to speed up your manifestations. What's up, superheroes? Welcome back to my channel, the place where we make the impossible possible. I'm Scarlett Grace from UnseenSeraph.com. I'm a manifestation coach, and today's video is all about how to ignore your current reality in order to manifest your desires. If you're new here and you want to learn how to manifest any desire fast with the law of attraction and Neville Goddard's teachings, then start now by hitting the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you won't miss any video that could change your life. And if you need some extra help or my personal advice for your situation, email coaching is available. You'll find all the links in the description below. I also have a 21-day course on how to manifest your specific person. So if that's what you're looking for, then click the link in the description to check it out. So today's video is all about how to ignore your physical reality when living from the end in order to manifest your desires. And this is something that many people struggle with. The solution is very simple, and it just requires a small shift in perspective. So here's how this whole thing works. The reason most people struggle so much with living from the end and with ignoring the physical reality when they're trying to manifest something is because they assume that what happens in their imagination is not real, and what happens in the physical world is real. In other words, you use a manifestation technique, let's say, for example, you use an imagining technique, visualization, but even though your visualization feels good, you do not believe that what you're experiencing during the visualization, during the imagining session, is actually true. You don't believe that it's actually a real thing. You think that only physical reality is a real thing. So what you're doing is you're using visualization and the imagining technique for the purpose of manifesting something externally. But this is not how manifesting works. In manifesting, you do not visualize something, you do not do an imagining session in order to create something in the physical reality. What you're doing is you're using the visualization, the manifesting technique, in order to identify with a version of yourself that already has what you up until now only desired. For example, if you wish to be rich, you do not do an imagining session where you are rich in order to manifest it in physical reality. You do the imagining session in order to be able to identify with a version of yourself that is already rich. So how does this version of you feel? What does he feel? What does she feel? How does it feel to be rich? What thoughts do you have when you're rich? How does the world around you look from the perspective of being rich? This is the purpose of the imagining session. And once you embody this version of you during the imagining session, and this is why when you're doing an imagining session, it needs to be from a first-person point of view. In other words, you need to be in the body of that version of you that already has this desire, and not looking at another version of yourself, as if watching a film with yourself starring in it. Once you identify with this version of yourself, and your imagining session ends, you continue being that person. That's the whole point. That is what living from the end is. Living from the end is living from the perspective of the version of you that already has this desire. You need to think like this person, you need to act like this person, you need to see the whole world from the eyes of this version of you that is already rich, for example. So, as I said, the whole problem that most people experience when it comes to living from the end is that they believe that what has happened in their imagination during their imagining session or their scripting session or whatever technique they used, because it isn't physical yet, they believe it's just in their imagination and therefore it is not real. In other words, they believe that what happens in their imagination is fake, is not substantial, and that the physical world is actually substantial and real. And this is a lie, and I can actually prove to you that it's a lie, and that even you do not believe that what happens in your imagination is just a lie. And here's how. Let's say, for example, that your goal is to become rich. So you do your imagining session, and you embody this person that is already rich, this version of you that is already rich. So your imagining session ends, and then comes the part of going about your day while living from the end, right? In order to manifest being rich, so when you come upon physical things in the physical world that contradict what you imagined in your session, you take that as physical evidence that your reality is not manifested yet, and you stop living from the end. You take that as proof that it hasn't happened yet. So, for example, if you're doing this visualization, this imagining session where you were rich, you go about your day living from the end, and then you need to withdraw some money, and you realize that looking at your bank account, you realize that it is overdrawn. And you think to yourself, this is proof that I'm not rich, because if I were rich, my bank account would not have been overdrawn, so I'm not rich after all. And that's where you stop living from the end. Now consider this scenario instead. Let's say that you've done your imagining session and you were living from the end, and then you checked your bank account and it was overdrawn, and you started thinking I'm not rich. But then the phone rang, and it was from that job interview that you did a month ago, and they're calling to notify you that they're going to hire you. And they're not only going to hire you, but they're going to be offering you 100K more per month than you ever made in your life. In other words, if up until now you made 50K per month, from now on you're going to be making 150K per month. Now answer this question. Do you still feel that you're not rich? Chances are you don't, because you were just hired for a job that pays you 3 times more than you have ever made in your life, right? So, is the overdrawn bank account still evidence that you're not rich? It's still overdrawn, right? You still don't have money in your account. So, why, if there was a phone call where they let you know that they just hired you for 100K more than you have ever made in your life per month, suddenly the same overdrawn bank account is not physical evidence that you're not rich? Why was it before and it isn't now? Do you have the money in your account? Do you have the extra 100K a month in your account? No, you don't. Has anything actually changed in your physical environment? No, it hasn't. Because they just hired you. You don't have the money yet. You still live in the same apartment or house. You still sleep on the same bed. Absolutely nothing has changed in the physical world between the time before the phone call and after the phone call. So, where has this shift happened from my bank account is overdrawn so I'm poor to my bank account is overdrawn but who cares because I'm rich now and make a load of money per month? Wasn't the shift in your imagination only? So the bank account, the overdrawn bank account, does not constitute physical proof that your desire isn't manifesting, and it is not a reason to stop living from the end. All that it is, all that the overdrawn bank account is evidence of the results of your past beliefs and the past uses of your imagination. In other words, when you are focusing on the reality of I'm poor, you manifested a series of things, including an overdrawn bank account. Then you decided to do your imagining session and embody the version of you that is already rich, right? But physical reality usually does not shift instantaneously, so after your imagining session that day or the next day when you check your bank account, it's still going to be overdrawn. That is not proof that your imagining session hasn't worked. It's not. It's just proof that in the past you were thinking like a poor person and you focused on luck and on not having money, and that's why you still have an account that is overdrawn. If you now focus on living from the end of that version of you that is rich, your bank account will stop being overdrawn very, very soon. And all you have to do is live from the end, the same way that if you're notified that you're getting paid 100K more per month than ever before in your life, even though the bank account would still be overdrawn, you would disregard that and feel rich. And if you saw that overdrawn bank account, you wouldn't think, oh, I was just hired for this great new position and I make 100K more per month than I ever did before in my life. But look, my bank account is overdrawn. so that must mean that I'm actually still poor. Right? You don't think like that. You're living from the end. You haven't received the money yet, but you're living from the end of, I will be making that money from now on. So start acting and feeling and thinking as if you already have that money, that salary that you haven't received yet. This is exactly what you need to do when living from the end. So if you have been hired for that job, then you would look at your overdrawn bank account and you would think, that is part of who I used to be. That is part of the poor version of me. The overdrawn bank account, that is part of the poor me. But now I'm the new version of me and now I make 100k more per month, so this is not part of my reality anymore. It's funny that I'm making so much money, but because it just happened, my bank account still appears to be overdrawn. It still reflects the old poor me. That is living from the end. That is exactly what you have to do when we're talking about living from the end, minus the phone call. Because the moment you use an imagining session, the moment you use any technique to identify with that version of yourself that is already rich and already has what you want, that moment you do not open your eyes to get out of your imagining session and encounter the exact same reality around you as there was around you before you entered the session. In other words, before the meditation, before the imagining session, you're in a different reality than you are right now after the imagining session. You are literally not in the same version of reality. You are in a new parallel version of reality where you're going to be rich. And if you continue living from the end, this is the reality you will remain in. Now, everything around you still looks the same, so it's easy to be tempted into thinking that this is a failure and nothing has changed because you're still in the same apartment. You are surrounded by exactly the same things. Your bank account is still overdrawn. But it doesn't matter. Because again, the example of getting a phone call that lets you know you were hired, in that case your surroundings would still look the same and you would still be in the same apartment and your bank account would still be overdrawn. The only thing that would change was how you viewed all those things around you. You would have the perspective of an overdrawn bank account that the now rich person has, which would be, it doesn't matter because that's my old reality. It's not relevant anymore. You would have the perspective of having a broken fridge of a rich person, which would be, it doesn't matter because I now can go out and buy a brand new fridge, so who cares if this one is broken? It is only in your attitude and in the way you react to those things where you determine if you're going to keep being the poor version of you or the rich version of you. Living from the end is exactly how you would behave if you had just been hired for that high-paying job, minus that phone call. So in other words, you do not have to ignore the facts in order to live from the end, for example, to manifest becoming rich. You do not have to ignore the fact that your bank account is overdrawn. All you have to do is change your reaction to that overdrawn bank account. Instead of using it as proof that you're still poor and you will remain poor, use it as proof that this was the old version of you. Oh, this is proof of my previous reality where I was still poor. But now that I've done my imagining session, now that I'm embodying the rich version of me, this will stop being my reality. This is just a remnant from that old reality. I'm a different person now. And it works exactly the same way no matter what your goal is. No matter what desire you're trying to manifest, it works exactly the same way. So let's say you're trying to manifest an ex-back. And you did your imagining session, and you imagine you two being happily married and together, and then you encounter your specific person somewhere, and they told you that they only see you as a friend now. So the only difference when it comes to which reality will manifest, your old reality where you will continue not being together, or the new reality that you want where you're happily together, is how you react to that. You can react as your old self and see that as confirmation that he doesn't love you and it's so hard to get back together with him and maybe it will never happen and you're still not together. Or you can see it as a remnant of your old reality. And when it happens, you do not get upset about it and think, okay, I just did this imagining session. I'm living from the end of being together with this person, so it doesn't matter if they're saying they only see me as a friend, because that was what the old version of me manifested, the version of me that was broken up with this guy. But now I'm the new version. I'm embodying the version of being happily married to this guy. So this is irrelevant, because it belongs to another reality. It's just the remnant of another reality, because I just did this imagining session, and physical reality needs a little bit of time to shift. So I don't have the physical evidence yet, but this is not evidence that it's not working. It's just a remnant of my past reality. And you don't get upset, and you go on in life embodying that feeling of safety and of being loved and cherished and being in a great relationship with this specific person. And then this relationship manifests. So it doesn't matter what the goal is. Living from the end is easy if you stop using everything you see in your physical reality as proof as to why your imagining session and your manifesting attempts have not worked. Because those are not proof that your manifesting has not worked. They're not. They're just remnants of what the past version of you manifested, alright? They have nothing to do with the reality you live in now. The reality where you embody the version of you that already has what you want. The reality where you are living from the end. They do not belong there. They're remnants, the stuff that need to be thrown out. So do not react to them and do not use them as proof to disprove the whole manifesting thing and prove to yourself that it doesn't work. Stop trying to find proof that your manifesting is failing. So many people are doing that. You're hunting for proof in the physical world to prove to yourself that it's not working. Start doing the opposite instead. Start hunting for proof that it's actually working. Look at all the stuff that are remnants from the past and recognize them as remnants from the past. Okay? You can actually look forward to those little things that you would normally use to prove to yourself that it isn't working, because it is an opportunity for you to live from the end. So many people do not understand what living from the end actually entails. And this is one of those things. So if you're manifesting money, for example, decide in advance that every time something comes up that you would usually use as proof that you are poor and you're going to remain poor, you will tell yourself, oh, this is just a remnant of what past me manifested. And this is an opportunity for me to embody new me by not reacting negatively to this thing because it's not relevant to my life anymore. Okay? And by doing this, you're actually speeding up your manifestation. You're making it manifest in your physical reality faster because all those little traps that most people use to invalidate their manifesting attempts, you're actually using them to make your manifesting stronger. So it is going to happen faster. It is going to manifest in your physical reality faster because you do not use those things as an opportunity to reaffirm your old limiting beliefs, but you're actually staying neutral towards the event or find it entertaining because, I'm so rich, but look at that. I still have an overdrawn bank account. Isn't that hilarious? Or something like that. Or if you want a specific person and they're dating someone else right now and you come across them the same day or the same week as your imagining session, do not react as if this is actually real or a danger to you. It's not. The physical world is not what determines what happens. Your imagination determines what happens. In other words, your imagination is more real than the physical world. So if you see a specific person with their date outside, think to yourself, oh, this is so funny because me and him, we're together now. So I guess this is the moment where they break up. Because if you take this approach, this is living from the end. And if you do that, your desires will manifest incredibly fast. So this is how to ignore your current reality when manifesting. And if you like this video, then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Because next week I'm going to share with you another way to use things from your physical reality to manifest your desires insanely fast. So subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you know when that video is out. Thank you so much for watching.